But it was, there's always going to be a lot of good memories being able to get a sponsor's exemption. And I know I haven't made it back in the past few years, but this style of golf is so different than what we see, especially kind of as we played through playoffs. So it's fun to be back and have a nice home crowd. I've heard a lot of Go Bears already through, 2 days of being on property. So it'll be fun to kind of see how the week progresses.
Practice day yesterday, then just finished up your Pro-Am. What are some of your takeaways from Silverado Resort?
Yeah, like I said, I've forgotten the, not quirkiness, but a lot of the dog legs and a lot of the shot making you have to have out here, and a lot of spin control with some of the smaller greens. So it's fun to play this style of golf because we don't get to play it that often on tour, and I think it takes a different skill set sometimes to be able to navigate your way around this golf course.
All right, we'll take some questions from the media. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. We'll start right here with Marty.
Hey, Collin, welcome to Napa and Silverado. How connected is this United States Ryder Cup team this week under Keegan Bradley's leadership as far as, bringing the team here to Napa and using this as a training ground before Bethpage? What is the emotion like? What is the spirit of the team like as you continue this tournament here and in preparation for Bethpage?
Yeah, I think when you look back at a couple of years ago, a lot of us came in taking 4 weeks off, and at the end of the day, we looked back and said, how do we get better, right? How do we give ourselves a better chance to go out there and compete? And I know for myself, I didn't feel like I was as prepared a couple of years ago, even though I put a lot of work in those 4 weeks. Tournament golf is just different, and you have to be able to show up. So it's great to have pretty much everyone here this week. A lot of great vibes throughout the meetings and the dinners we've had, and that's what you asked for. I think we're all very close. I mean, more than half of these guys on the team I've known for over 10 years. So, it's that much more comfortable. And I think a lot of us have been fairly close. And look, my first ever lunch on tour was with JT. And now that I've been able to play 3 Ryder Cups, or 2 Ryder Cups with him, 3 Ryder Cups, actually, it's amazing, right? So a lot of that just bleeds into it. But I think having this little earlier start for us is getting us prepared a little bit more.
All right, go to Paula.
Obviously being here is different, right, in terms of preparation of doing this event, but what are some other things that you've noticed or done even that feel different than in previous Ryder Cups to get ready for this one, and maybe what have you noticed with Keegan that has been a little different too?
I think a lot of it comes down to Keegan. Keegan's been very open to talking to a lot of us, a lot of players, just asking, what can he do for us to make the week that much easier. It's amazing how long you're there for and how quickly it goes because of just things you have to do, practice with the team, dinners with the team. You're just slightly in a different order, but he's been open to hearing every suggestion possible from all of us to say, how do we make it as normal as can be and go out there and do what we need to do is put points on the board. So he's been, a lot of credit to him. He's put a lot of hours and phone calls behind the scenes that even I don't know about, but I want to make sure that he's, we say thanks to him because he's done a lot for us to bring us all together and to do, what we need to do to go out there and try and be our best.
All right, go ahead, Mark.
Collin, as somebody who's been on that first tee on a Friday morning, there's nothing like it, obviously, in your sport. What do you tell the guys that have not experienced that?
Yeah, it was funny. I was actually talking to Harris a little bit about it, and it goes by so quickly, and it's being able to take a half beat longer, not just on the tee, but almost like walking up in through the tunnels and saying, hey, let me just take a deep breath, and then you're going to remember that much more and that much more crystal clear. I remember how I felt. I remember certain aspects of being on that first tee at Whistling, but it kind of went away a little too quickly. And it sucks because, 15 years, 10 years down the road, I want to be able to really, really crystallize that image and say that's where I was in that moment. I can do that throughout a handful of events. I can do it slightly throughout that first tee shot at Whistling, but for those rookies, you really have to just take it in. And I think when you're able to take that in a little bit more, you step on that first tee, you're able to focus on that golf shot and just hopefully execute.
I just have a follow that's unrelated to that, but you have a handful of guys on this team that are pretty low-key guys, don't show a lot of demonstrative emotion.
Can you name them? No.
Well, yeah. Obviously, Cam. Let's start with Cam, but JJ. A lot of those, Henley. Those guys are not really fist pumpers very much. I'm curious. Will this get that out of them like it did Duval in Brookline, so to speak? That was a good example. somebody?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think you only see us in our individual setting, right? And that's the hardest part. I think if you watched a lot of us at home play, you would see a completely different side of us. And I think because of the nature of how golf is 72 holes by ourselves with our caddies, and you're not just playing against the people in your group. So when you're fist pumping, say on a Thursday on a normal event, it almost looks like you're psyching yourself out and you're kind of afraid of other people. Whereas when you're fist pumping at home and you're playing a match 1v1, or you're fist pumping at the Ryder Cup, that's a lot different. So I think you're going to see a little emotion out of some of these guys that you're not used to, and it's not because they're trying to be any different. We're a very competitive team, and when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, I mean, I can definitely count. I've fist pumped way more in Ryder Cups and President's Cups than any individual event, but that's because it's just a head-to-head match. And you see it at home. You see us do that type of stuff. It just doesn't come out in these normal weeks because it kind of needs to get down to Sunday. You need to be in contention in that scenarios.
Come back to the right side.
Hey, Collin. Shifting gears to this week, how comfortable do you feel playing here at the Procore Championship in Northern California? And what do you make of Silverado course resort as a whole?
Yeah, I touched on it earlier. I mean, having a lot of people come up to me, having, Berkeley ties and saying, "Go Bears." Like, I love that, right? Anytime you're able to play in front of a lot of friends, a lot of family, people that you have a connection with, it helps that much more. So it feels very comfortable to be out here. And I'm excited for the week. I hope I play really well and, bring it for those people that are coming. I know Saturday, I believe, is like a college day where, they're going to allow a little more college students to come, so hopefully they'll come out. Silverado, I had 2 years when I played. I want to say I played in 18 and 19. 18 as an AM, 19 as my first year, and good memories. I actually missed the cut, unfortunately, the first time, and then played decent the second time, and it just hasn't fit in the schedule, and that's just part of the nature of golf for us sometimes. But it's good to be back. I love playing in California. I love playing out here in the Bay Area-ish. It's close enough, and it'll hopefully be a great week.
All right, we'll go to Doug.
Have you ever seen anyone fist pump on Thursday?
I'm sure I have at some point. No, it's rare. It's rare. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it on the, hopefully, first birdie.
Fourth cup, or fifth cup, you played before, is that right?
Team events? Yeah, 21.
7 partners. Is that,
Wow.
is that,
Sounds about right.
is that a good or a bad?
I don't know. I talked to, Furyk was out there walking with me, and I think sometimes with the style of game I have, I work well with a lot of players, and sometimes you just have to be that guy that just kind of steps in and says, you're going to fit this mold. And I have no issues with that. I'm going to do what's best for the team if that's what people believe. I think at this point now I kind of know certain vibes and certain characteristics that I would want out of someone. And that doesn't mean their style of golf game, but just who they are and what they bring out when we're playing. But yeah, I mean, Furyk said, I asked him, I was like, who'd you play with a bunch? He's like, no one. I bounced around between everyone. And that's not a bad thing. Furyk is a phenomenal golfer. Phenomenal. It's just, I think the style of my game, you can kind of piece in, and depending how well I'm playing, it's like you could piece it in with this guy, you could piece it in with this, and that's just who I am. And yeah, in a way, and yeah.
Secondly, given your cup experience, what kind of recollections do you have from the end of 23? Because that was your first losing team. What was that like after it was over, plane trip home? How much did it stick with you?
It sucked. It sucked. I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I want to say for a majority of us, it sucked because you go in there wanting to win so bad and doing everything you can to go and win an away one. And when you don't accomplish that and you see everyone else cheering and you see, we're walking away, my head at least immediately goes to what could I have done better for the team and what could I have done to prepare better and show up and put more points on the board. Because I think I ended up playing 4 matches 2 years ago. And it's just, it sits with you for a little bit. Because for me, it's like essentially I had, one more event after that and, didn't really play that much after. And you sit kind of through the rest of the fall thinking, man, this sucks. and that's 2 years you have to wait to hopefully make the team again. So it lights a fire in all of us that were there. But home crowds are different. Hopefully we can use that to our advantage as much as we can and just use that extra little energy to, hopefully sway a couple matches. And then those are sometimes the most meaningful ones.
All right, we'll go to Steph and then Adam.
Can you speak to your experience with Ryder Cup foursomes pairings, specifically with how much work goes into matching compatibilities of each other's balls?
Yeah, it is difficult. I've never been someone that's been too worried about the golf ball. I think I play one of the spinnier balls on tour, just in general. So for me, when I go to a lower spinning ball, which is a lot of other guys, the driver just goes straight and farther, which is a tough thing to work with. But it is part of that, right? Compatibilities, characteristics, you have to be able to lean on one each other. I think, I said it to someone earlier, you can put all 12 of us in any combination and we can make it work. At the end of the day, you have to go out and play good golf. The start of that comes with the comfort level of who you're paired with. And do you trust the other player? Do you feel angsty around them? Are you worried that, you're going to mess something up? Like, there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's a lot of data that we have. And that's where I think I look back at a few years ago at Rome. We just have to be honest with Keegan and our vice captains about what we want and what we feel comfortable with. I think nothing can be left on the table and nothing can be hidden, because when that happens, you're ending up hurting not just yourself, but the rest of the guys. And I'll be honest, I think that has happened in the past, even with myself. And back to Doug's point of having a lot of players, it's like I feel like I fit in with a lot of guys and I feel very comfortable. But sometimes you have to put your foot in the ground and say, look, this is what I feel like I'm going to perform the best with or without, and you go from there. But there's a lot of factors that go in with the whole characteristic stuff.
Go ahead, Adam.
Collin, is there a part of your game that you've been focused on trying to get ready for the Ryder Cup?
Yeah. Look, I know, after the Tour Champ, everyone felt like it was a long season. I got straight to work the Monday right after. I'm really trying to figure out these irons, and it's crazy to say, and the putting as well. I mean, I've got a new putter in the bag this week, which I did a lot of work that Monday right after Tour Champ. But the irons, I want to show up at Bethpage and be able to just aim 5 yards left, 10 yards left, 3 feet left, and just fire and pepper at those pins, because that's what people get excited about. Obviously, you need to make the putts, but that's just something I've been fighting over the past few years. Is just there's a difference of missing it 20 feet left and 20 feet right. It's the same number no matter what, strokes gains and stuff, but I want to know where my misses are going, and that's what I've been working on really, really hardly, and hopefully we can, it's been really good work. Just got to keep getting where I want to be in a couple weeks, but everything's feeling great so far, heading into this week at least.
What did it mean to you, to the team, that Bryson made the effort to be here this week?
Not just this week. He's made efforts to come out to other meetings and other dinners as well. It shows that he just cares. Like I said, I think this whole individual aspect, we've all thrown that out the window, and we will all do what it takes to be with the team. So to have him there yesterday, being around the team, hanging out, they're all positives for us. And I think the more we can all be together, which we've already been, the closer we're going to be and the more comfortable we're going to be. It's been pretty seamless, I think, through all my team events. There hasn't been any awkwardness around anyone. I'm not saying just because we lost in Rome, there was awkwardness in the team room. All of us have been great together. But just adding that extra little week, adding in the extra little dinners, hanging out, that just shows that he cares. And like I said, he's gonna do everything it takes and everything we need from him to go out and put points on the board.
All right, come back over here, Bob.
Before you played that first Ryder Cup, would you have had any experience at foursomes in competition? Do you recall?
Yeah.
How hard is it to get used to?
Walker Cup, me and Norman Zhang. Should have been 9-7. It was 8-7. Yeah, I feel like that's a format I've always kind of been put in. Maybe because that's just I hit a lot of fairways, I guess, and kind of keep it in play. But I've played Palmer Cups, Walker Cups, where I've had enough foursomes practice, and that's why for me, the ball thing, back to the ball question, like I said, I play a spinning ball. It's easier to go a little lower spinning. You know, I think when the guys are super lower spinning, just say like a Cam Young's got that new Titleist ball, it's harder to go to a spinning ball because then when it spins, I mean, it could be a very, very big difference. So back to the whole pairing stuff, like that's part of it. But yeah, I feel like it's been a format that I certainly like.
Do you have an opinion on why in these Ryder Cups of late, even though the teams appear fairly evenly matched, the home teams have been really dominating? Do you have any sense as to why that has been?
It's tough. You know, I can only speak on my two. I think it just, there's something about being at home. We don't get that on tour, right? You maybe get a home-like event, and I guess, you know, RSM would be the closest one to guys actually playing their home event where they practice at all the time. But even then, you have a home crowd where, I mean, I'll never forget driving up to Whistling that morning on Friday. I mean, all you see is red, white, and blue. All you hear are Americans screaming. All you hear are, you know, American songs, and it just sometimes pulls enough out of you. And I think when you go away, you just have to go out and be that villain sometimes. And yeah, I don't know, but I hope it continues because I'm looking forward to that entire, not just New York crowd, but whole USA crowd really bring it. I mean, it helps. It helps. I think any sport can say a home crowd helps. Especially for us those 2 weeks.
All right, got time for two more. We'll go here and then finish up with Mark.
To follow up on that a little bit, and I imagine this is something you've thought about a lot over your previous experiences and going into this year, but to you, why is the Ryder Cup important?
Well, I think anytime you get to represent your country, right? And we're wearing a much bigger shirt and heart on our sleeves than I am, say, this week. Like this week, I'm fighting for myself, and I want to go out and win it, you know, for my team and everyone. But like I'm out there to beat all these other 143 other guys, right? The times I've been able to wear the red, white, and blue, you just can't take that lightly. So when you're representing your entire country and you're playing multiple other countries, right? Essentially, well, you're playing an entire continent, right? Like you have to go up and step to the plate and show up. And when you don't, like I did 2 years ago, you just, it eats at you because it sucks. It's a terrible feeling. So they're so memorable because you look at the history, you look at kind of the moments that are made, the team rooms, the memories that are made amongst, you know, the wives and the players and the captains. Like you make friends for life. Like it's a lot more bonding than people realize, and the bonding happens so quickly, but it lasts a lifetime. And those memories and those stories just go on and on. So you obviously want positive stories at the end of the week because it comes down to hopefully winning that Ryder Cup.
At Whistling Straits, did that atmosphere surprise you at all? Did that catch you off guard? Is that kind of what you expected? Or
Yeah, no, I honestly, like I crazy enough, like I told this story before, like I felt more nervous at the Walker Cup teeing off than I did the first hole at Whistling. Maybe because it was a home crowd and it felt that much, you know, at ease. But it was everything I expected. And I expect a lot more in New York, so we'll see.
Good. All right, we'll wrap it up here.
The consensus on Sam Burns, obviously everybody talks about his putting, and he's the best putter out there. I'm sure you guys all observe each other, maybe talk to each other about things. What in your opinion, makes him such a good putter?
You know, I haven't tapped into his head too much. I love when I've played with him, partnered up, because I just try and hit it on the green, and he makes them all. I think, you know, I listened to Scotty talk about him one time, or someone talked about him. I think he just does all the basics really good. I've played a lot at home this past week, not a lot, but a handful of times with Taylor Montgomery and Maverick McNeely, two of the best putters on tour as well, right? And you ask them, and they're very different in how they approach putting. But what they do is they're always just very confident and very assertive with how they pick their lines and believing that it's right. You know, like sometimes I'll step on in a fairway and it could be the most obvious 8-iron and I'll feel 7-iron or I'll feel 9-iron. Like it's that gut feeling that I think really good putters have is saying, no, this is going in. So I think it just takes that over time, but yeah.
I mean, obviously all of you guys can putt, you wouldn't be here, but is there ever, for any facet of the game, where you have a little bit of, I don't say jealousy is the right word, but envy about how well a guy does something particularly well, if that makes any sense?
Is there
Yeah,
like?
I mean, do you have
Well,
that?
yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
I wish I could putt like Sam Burns all the time, or drive it like really long. But sometimes you have to remember who you are and kind of play your game, and that doesn't mean that you can't creep your way towards those players. And that's what's great about these team events. You really get to tap into a lot of brains and a lot of smart guys on how they do things. And sometimes it's just one little conversation can spark something. And that's why I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to ask other players, not necessarily during a week like this, but at home, off weeks, team events. You really get to tap into the knowledge that people have. And side story, I remember at Whistling, I had 2 vice captains and 4 players watching my putting. Stricker was a little bit worried, but I told him don't. It's just the more knowledge the better, because that makes you a more well-rounded player and person, and just how you see things. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the time, Collin.
Awesome.
All right.